What's up, everybody? Zach here with Nerd Cave. Today is episode 230 of our wonderful podcast. I'm joined by myself, and only myself. So you're going to get to hear my docile voice, reading the news, stumbling over words, and all of that good stuff. Thanks to everybody for this awesome weekend. We had a great community game night, game day actually, and we had a lot of fun. So thank you all for all the ones that came out and supported us there. We are doing the show live, but we won't be taking questions till the very end, but we will be covering a ton of topics this week. So if you want to get all of this early, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/nerdcave, throw us a few dollars, make Robbie holler, insert Robbie's hollering voice, and you can get the podcast early. We stream each and every week to our patrons, and on the last week of the month, we stream to everybody. So this is what's happening this week is everybody's getting this show for free and on live. So if you want to get the edited version with all the nice clean audio and all that good stuff, all you got to do is go over to patreon.com, and you can check out our awesome Let's Plays that we put up a week early for our Patreon supporters. Or you can wait a week. That's okay too. And we segment our podcast each and every day, and we put up a part of it every day. So gaming goes in the first part of the week. Movies and news goes at the end of the week. And then on Friday, we put up the whole thing for everybody around the globe on podcast services and YouTube. So let's get into the news this week. Got a lot to talk about. Sony's Paris Games Week pre-show to highlight 21 games. Sony has provided some additional info about its upcoming Paris Game Week, which is taking place somewhere in Europe on Monday. This person's being funny. The show officially starts at 9 a.m. Pacific, but there's going to be a pre-show live stream that looks like it's definitely going to be worth tuning into. According to Sony, they will be revealing info on 21 games starting at 8 a.m. Pacific, including 7 all-new announcements for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation VR. Once that hour is all done, the actual event begins. So there's going to be a ton of news that comes from that. I'm figuring that most of those 7 games that haven't been announced yet are actually going to be PSVR games. That's where we're going to get most of that info from. But I think that one of the games, at least out of that 7, is going to be straight up a big title. Like it's going to be something that is something like we want to hear about. But PlayStation said that this is going to be that E3 was only the first half. The first half of this and everything. So we're going to see a ton of info, which makes me feel like we're going to be getting less at PSX this year, which is interesting because PSX is definitely the fan service and everything. But Paris Game Week has definitely taken a back seat in the recent years. So it's interesting that they're making the focus here on bigger games and everything. But I think a lot of it is definitely those 7 announcements of those games are going to be mostly PlayStation VR. But what I think the Paris Game Week is going to be is E3 was the first half of 2018. This is going to be the second half of 2018. I think if they're showing stuff that is in 2019, they're doing it wrong. I think that should be at PSX instead of Paris Games Week. So I think they need to fill out the rest of the timeline that is 2018 before they get into the next part of the year. The next year, because we've got the first part of the year, we've got, Spider-Man and all of that. I think that we see them fill out the rest of it, and it's interesting, we haven't really seen anything from Sucker Punch, so I think we see what Sucker Punch is doing. That might be the big game, the 7th game that they show, and then that kicks into the next part of the show, the actual event, and that they start talking about Sucker Punch's game, which I think putting Sucker Punch in the pre-show would be a little kind of a slight in a way because Sucker Punch is such a big company. But it could also be Media Molecule with their game Dream, which we haven't heard a lot about in a while, and I'm kind of scared that Dream is not going to be coming out, or it might be they might have shifted and made it like a PlayStation VR game since that's the new tech that is out right now. But VR, as we all know, hasn't really sold a ton. So it's going to be interesting to see. So that is going to actually be, if you're watching this segment, is going to be on Monday or today when this releases. So I'm curious to see what all PlayStation is going to announce, see what is coming out the next half, see if my predictions are right. But I think we're going to see a lot of first-party stuff. We don't see a lot of third-party talk here. We're going to see lots and lots of first-party to fill out the rest of 2018, and then maybe just a slight hint to 2019. But we also have the Game Awards, which is next month, which is in November, and then December is PSX. So I think they do that sort of thing. Last of Us was actually announced at the Game Awards. So I don't think we see something like that on this one. I think they focus on 2018 and not 2019. So moving into the next one, I'm having to do all of this by myself. And sorry if the stream is lagging, everybody. Gears of War 4's October update brings new maps, Halloween event, and Xbox One X support. The large update is coming to Gears of War 4, which introduces 2 new maps, Xbox One X supports, and ushers in the Halloween event. The Xbox One X arrives on store shelves this November, and the Coalition says it's preparing to bring support to the game as we lead up to its launch by allowing players to pre-download 4K files. Wow. 4K files. While the Coalition didn't give specifics on what Xbox One X enhancements were, we can look forward to the team says that they'll be providing more information very soon. The Coalition, however, went into detail about what kind of maps and the other content we'll see coming with the game as of next week. The 2 maps are Lift Apex and Fuel Depot. Fuel Depot is a map that was featured in the first Gears of War and Gears of War 2. Now this large warehouse setting makes its return. Lift Apex is also inspired by an earlier map. It's set in an emulsion extraction facility in the middle of Sereno Ocean. These 2 maps can be played by Season Pass holders on October 23rd, whereas all other players can join on October 30th. So I love to see that they're actually supporting this game, that they're continually making more updates for it. And of course, you have season passes, so you have to do that. But it's nice to see that Gears is going to be supported. The 4K files, I'm curious to see how that all works. Like the Xbox One X is supposed to be the most powerful console out right now and all of that. It's going to be interesting to see how that works with the 4K files and all of that. I'd see that eating up a ton of space on your hard drives. And I can't remember off the top of my head what the hard drive size on the Xbox One X. I'm assuming it's going to be a terabyte or so. But I'm looking forward to seeing what the game looks like in 4K. But I'm glad to see that they're putting in those game and that support in the game. The Fuel Depot was one of my favorite maps from Gears 1 and 2, so I'm glad to see it coming back. Will I play it? Probably not. I'm kind of over Gears at this point. The story in the 4th one wasn't that good to me. All I cared about was making sure Marcus was alive, and he was, so that's all that matters to me. Evil Within 2. You can play all of Evil Within 2's PC version in first-person mode. The Evil Within 2 is a much larger game than the first, featuring some new scares as well as bigger playground to be terrified in. If walking around these tense environments while waiting for a zombie to spot you isn't scary enough, however, and you have a PC version of the game, you can play it entirely in first person. It will take some extremely light modding to make it work, though, as PC Gamer details. If you right-click the game, and you can all look all of this up, but I've seen some gameplay of this, and this is one game that I do want to play. Making it just first-person mode would make it scarier, in my opinion, just because being able to spot zombies or being able to like turn the camera around when you're running away, it definitely heightens that sense. But if you're just first person, it definitely makes it more like Resident Evil 7, where you're right there in that horror and everything. So I kind of like that. I wish they would have made the game that way, but I understand that the character that they have in there is definitely a bigger character than what was in 7, which you got to know Ethan and all of that throughout that. But it's interesting. With just a little bit of modding, you could do that if you got the PC version. Next up, Dragon Ball Fighter Z release date season pass details have been announced. We all know how I feel about season passes. Bandai Namco has announced that Dragon Ball Fighter Z is coming to US on January 26th for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC, and the company has also dropped details on the game season pass. The pass grants gamers 8 additional characters who each come with a stamp, lobby avatars, and alternate colors. The pass is priced at $39.99, but Bandai Namco says it will announce the pass characters in the future because they don't know what they're putting in there. That's all the only reason. Or they're trying to heighten it, but they probably don't know what it's in there. Now, Dragon Ball Fighter Z, when we saw that at E3 this past year, it's a very interesting game. But I have no problems with it. It looks like it would be a lot of fun to play at parties or, just as like Let's Plays or whatever. It's definitely showing that the latest games didn't do well, that they abandoned that pretty quickly after the second game. You look at Budokai, they kept that formula for a very long time. Budokai 2, we're not going to talk about. I didn't like the game board that they had going on. But it just shows that the creating the character and all of that, and you got to go through the different timeline, it didn't work. So I think they're trying to get into the market. You've got Tekken that just came out. You have the Street Fighter game that just came out. Capcom just came out. And then we have another Dragon Ball Z game coming out. So it definitely shows that they're trying to get into that market where it's more of an esport. So I'm glad that they're finally putting a date on it. I can't wait to play it. But making it where characters are behind a paywall after you buy the whole game, it's again, Jim Sterling talks about this, the myth of a $60 game is definitely there, that $60 games don't exist anymore. You have to get the deluxe version to get the season pass to get the rest of the game. And it is, what it is at this point in time to make sure that there's single player games or games like that. But it's also annoying because I just want the game. I just want to pay $60 and get the full game. But whatever. If the games market wouldn't lie about, all the games are $60 at this point, just raise the prices and just give me the full game. Like, just stop doing that. Just stop lying to us. Microsoft announces Mixer integration within Minecraft. I get very passionate about microtransactions and all of that. Sorry about that. Mixer, formerly known as Beam before its acquisition by Microsoft and Minecraft, Microsoft's most recent expensive acquisition, are joining forces for a new level of integration. With Mixer, Minecraft streamers can now integrate any command in the game into their stream for viewers to hit at their leisure. Want your viewers to summon zombie archers? It's a click away. Want them to summon creepers for that matter? I wouldn't recommend it, but it's your stream and Mixer is now letting you do it. This is similar to Twitch integration in some games that allows people to cheer or to rally a main character's health, but is much more granular and fundamental level. The process will start working with Minecraft on PC and Android and will come to Xbox One later this year. All versions of Minecraft that support Mixer will be getting it once it exits beta, including Minecraft VR. Minecraft is also testing its Better Together update, which came to the PC, mobile, and Xbox One earlier this year. The update will be coming to Nintendo Switch later and allows crossplay across all versions. And the one company that isn't going to have Better Together is Sony, because they don't want people playing together. And that's okay. I just wish they would admit that. With this, I think it's cool, letting people have more things to do while people stream. Like, I would do that for games that I had if it was integrated and everything. Letting people, interact more with an actual physical thing, just like when we were playing Jackbox Party Pack. Even if you weren't in the actual game, the audience could play along by making lies up and fibbage and all of that, or voting on lies and all of that sort of stuff. So I thought it was just interesting that another service other than Twitch is getting more audience base, where it's more of that integration and everything. So, and with Minecraft being such a huge thing, it just makes sense. Former BioWare developer says EA is moving towards open world microtransaction focus. A former BioWare gameplay designer gave his input on the closure of Visceral Games and EA's new development focus in a recent podcast. In the latest episode of Waypoint's podcast, Manveer Air painted a grim picture for future of single-player titles. Speaking from his experience designing Mass Effect 3's multiplayer, he points to EA's microtransaction aftermarket strategy as a key driver for the recent and current projects. Why do you care about that at EA? The reason you care about that is because microtransactions. Buying card packs of Mass Effect games, the multiplayer, he says. It is the same reason we added card packs of Mass Effect 3. How do you get people to keep coming back to a thing instead of just playing for 60 to 100 hours? He has recently come under scrutiny by fans following the closure of Visceral Games on October 17th, shifting development on single-player Star Wars games from the former developers of Dead Space to EA Vancouver, which has historically specialized in sports games. In a blog post from EA Worldwide Studios Executive Vice President Patrick Suderland, the move was explained as a response to player input. In its current form, it was shaping up to be a story-based linear adventure game, Suderland wrote. Throughout the development process, we have been testing the game concept with players, listening to the feedback and about what and how they play, and closely tracking fundamental shifts in the marketplace. It has become clear that to deliver an experience that players will want to come back to and enjoy for a long time to come, we need to pivot designs. So, all of that means, everybody, is that microtransactions are here, season passes are here, and you better open up your wallet because they're going to take it from you one way or another. Now, I haven't read the article, but I definitely want to read it. Kotaku has an article about the closure of Visceral Games, and it is a very in-depth article that is talking about how the game was in a pretty bad place. So I'm curious to see what it is talking about, see what they go into detail and everything about. So I'm going to read over that and maybe make a video about the closure of Visceral Games, because it just kind of came as a shock. But from what Jason Schreier over at Kotaku was talking about, it wasn't, a secret really. It was kind of, hush and whispers that Visceral wasn't doing very well. So I'm curious to read that article and get my opinion on it. And I know that he says something that Neil Druckmann kind of said that wasn't true. So I'm curious to see what validity everything he has to say on this. SNES theme, new 3DS stealthily appears on Amazon with Super Mario Kart. A Super Nintendo themed new 3DS XL suddenly appears on Amazon this morning, with Amazon confirming its existence just after. It does look really cool, I have to admit. If I needed a 3DS, I didn't have my wonderful, beautiful Switch with Super Mario Odyssey on there, totally would get it, because it just looked good. It just looks really good. The new 3DS, which is a new 3DS. Yep. The new 3DS, which is a new 3DS, but not a new kind of 3DS, bears the designs of elements of the American Super Nintendo. It is an Amazon exclusive, again, Amazon exclusive, and includes a download of Super Mario Kart on the 3DS Virtual Console. The SNES Mario Kart title, the first title in the series, and one of 21 games on the SNES Classic, released last month. Both Japan and Europe have their own versions of the SNES 3DS, though, as those regions had different designs for the SNES, the 3D SES themselves also have different designs. So keep that in mind if you're planning to finish off your 3DS collection. The release is also interesting as Amazon exclusive, as the online retailer and Nintendo had been famously warring for a few years, to the point where Amazon stopped selling hardware directly through Amazon. Popular speculation was that Amazon and Nintendo were butting heads over the tendency of the original 3DS to scratch its own top screen, on Nintendo allegedly telling Amazon to deal with the returns. Though neither party has ever confirmed that be the case, it does seem that the Amazon exclusive variation puts a lot of bad blood to the side, at least. So having the largest online retailer in the world sell these, I think it's a good thing. It's interesting that not just US, but Japan and Europe, they all have their different versions of the 3DS. So of this 3DS. So I think that's pretty cool if you're into that. If you're wanting to collect all of them, there's a ton of 3DSs. So if that's what you want, you're going to have to buy 3 more. So, it is what it is. But with some more Nintendo news, and I actually like this one, GameCube controllers now work with the Nintendo Switch. There's been an unexpected, unmentioned addition to the Nintendo Switch with its 4.0 update. GameCube controllers, when using the Wii U's USB adapters, now work with the system. Twitter user Master Mukin was among the first to discover the new controller support. It's not foolproof as yet, with many users reporting it takes multiple attempts to pair a pad, perhaps explaining why Nintendo hasn't publicized the change. The process is on paper fairly simple. Make sure your Switch is set to accept wired controllers, plug the adapter in, plug the controller in, choose a pair of controllers, then press that. All Switch games appear to be compatible with the GameCube controllers, although there's a caveat: you won't be able to use the ZL command or the home button. Naturally, the addition led to speculations to see the long release of the GameCube Virtual Console titles or a new version of the famously GameCube pad-friendly Smash Brothers. And I know this isn't in the article, but the 4.0.1 update to the software, I think, takes away like any mention of the GameCube in the software. So just be ready for that. Just be ready for that. Next up, Hitman Game of the Year edition includes Patient Zero campaign. It's much different having to do all the switching, but I can do it because I'm awesome. Hitman developer IO Interactive's first release as an independent studio is a Game of the Year edition for Hitman, a title that originally tinkered around with various release models before finishing its first full season a year ago. This Game of the Year edition includes the first season as well as the new Patient Zero campaign, three themed escalation contracts, 3 new suits with weapons, lightning enhancements, and more. Lighting enhancement, not lightning. Patient Zero tasks Agent 47 with a task taking out an infected target over 4 missions before he spreads a deadly virus. Hitman Game of the Year edition is out digitally on November 7th for PS4, Xbox One, and PC for $60. But if you already own the game digitally or on disc, you can get a Game of the Year upgrade for only $20. This upgrade is also available to anyone who purchased all the episodes individually or the intro upgrade pack combo. Even if you don't get this new edition, there's already released title is getting an update complete with new contracts, mode feature, and redesigned UI and other additions. So I love that games are getting more support, that they're getting new content, and yes, they're going to charge you for this content, but they've been slowly putting out more, and they've always been supporting this game. So I love that. And recently IO has parted ways with Square Enix. Excuse me. And I'm surprised that they got to keep the Hitman IP, but they did, and apparently they're getting to keep all of it because they're releasing this Game of the Year version. And I think it's if you like the Hitman game and it's only just an upgrade of $20 to get the 4 more missions, I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good price point. It's not, super expensive or anything, and they're not leading you down the path. And I know this kind of sounds like, oh, well, he's backtracking on his season passes and all of that. You got your first season. Like, you bought that, you know what you were getting. You were getting those 4 things, and then this is extra on all of that, and that's DLC and all that good stuff. But it's nice to see that a company is supporting their stuff and they keep making stuff, and they've done a lot of free stuff with the game as well. So I good on you, IO Interactive. Good on you. PUBG is getting a physical release for Xbox One. PlayerUnknown's Battleground will be getting a physical edition with a release for its Xbox One version of the game. When that version release is still unknown. Xbox One would be the first console the game releases on, though it's been most popular game on Steam for a while now. How long Microsoft's console exclusivity deal lasts isn't known. Bluehole Studio also recently announced vaulting and climbing will be coming to the test servers in November, so hopefully those features make their way into the regular servers in time for the Xbox One release. So you you see that this game is continually in the headlines, that we're always talking about it on the show, and we haven't even played it, but PUBG is so popular right now. It is so popular, and Xbox One getting the first take on this, the first console to get it, is a huge thing because it is so popular, and there's so many Xbox fans that want to play it, and as soon as it comes out, they're going to be getting it day one, and you're going to see more and more people playing PUBG. The people that have PlayStation 4, they're waiting on it, and they might even, I think this is what they're wanting, they might even buy an Xbox One. They might get that Xbox One X because it's got that 4K and all of that to play PUBG on a console. So I just think it's very interesting that it is getting a physical release. I kind of figured that was going to happen. But the game is still in early release. Like, it's not even officially out yet. It is still being tested. It's still being improved. So it's still in early release. And then you get into the whole Game of the Year conversation. Do you consider it for a Game of the Year since it's early release? When it officially releases, do you consider it again right there? And then it goes into the kind of like DLC. If a piece of DLC makes a game better, do you take the DLC by itself, or you take the whole game? So it's all of these kind of things going in there, but Xbox definitely lucked out, or, not necessarily lucked out. I'm sure they worked their butts off on it to get that exclusivity. I'm curious to see if it's an indefinite thing. Is it 6 months? Is it a year? Is it 2 years? We'll see soon, but it definitely speaks volumes that they are getting that exclusivity and that they're going to be the first ones on console to have it. Insomniac on Sunset Overdrive 2, we just need to find a publisher. On Twitter, Insomniac's official account responded to a tweet pleading for the publisher sequel to Sunset Overdrive with, "We'd love to, we just need to find a publisher." Sunset Overdrive was an Xbox One exclusive published by Microsoft in 2014 as one of the first big single-player titles for the console. The open-world punk title focused heavily on shooting while traversing as its main gimmick, but managed to capture a lot of hearts with its unique style and fourth-wall-breaking dialogue. Since then, it's been fairly obvious that Microsoft has not been interested in a sequel, as the game did not break any sales records, so a sequel has always seemed kind of unlikely. The fortunate part is that Insomniac was able to keep the IP rights to the series and could work with another publisher to produce a sequel, something that it seems they're willing to do and should be able to do. Insomniac is also hard at work with Sony and Marvel on the PlayStation 4 Spider-Man game scheduled for next year, which bears some similarity to Sunset Overdrive in its free-flowing movement style. Now, I never got to play Sunset Overdrive. It's one game that I have, but I just never have gotten to it yet. So I'm looking forward to one day. I'm not promising that I'll ever get to it. Maybe getting to play it, but I know it didn't break sales records, but a lot of people like it. Insomniac is always really good with their games, and Spider-Man definitely looks really good. And for them to want to go back to that world, they want to go back to Sunset Overdrive, it says a lot that they really loved that game, that that was kind of a passion project almost for them, and they're just needing somebody to publish it. So maybe after we see Spider-Man release and they support that for a while, that they crank up production on the second Sunset Overdrive. And I hope they do not get in bed with EA or Warner Brothers to publish this, because I'm not even going to get on the tangent today. Not even going to get on the tangent. I don't have anybody to reel me in. Metal Gear Survive gets a February 20th release date. Update: Konami has announced the exclusive pre-order extras for Metal Gear Survive, including weapons, a box accessory, and more. So I'm gonna scroll down so everybody can see this wonderful thing right there. Here we go. So 4 gold-plated weapons: a bat, a sledgehammer, survival machete, and survival spear. Couldn't just call them machete or a spear. Survival spear and survival machete. 4 metallic colored survival scarves. Green, blue, pink, and silver. 2 gestures, a thumbs up and happy. Mother base nameplate, Boxman, the orange accessory, and Kabuki face paint. And you can see all of that right there. My God. I know I got into a huge conversation about this on the Nerd Cave Facebook group with Adam Gumbert. Konami, I'm not going to get the game. Are you going to get the game? Tell me in the comments below. There's pre-order bonuses. Like, whew, that's some rough. I don't even know if they know what they're doing over there. I really don't. I don't know if they know what they're doing. I'm going to take me a little sip. Mexican Coca-Cola. Best thing in the world. All right. Moving on. Something better. Animal Crossing Pocket Camp is coming to mobile in November. Here's everything announced in the latest Nintendo Direct. Nintendo has dropped the details of its much anticipated Animal Crossing game for smartphones, Animal Crossing Pocket Camp. In Nintendo's Animal Crossing dedicated Direct today, we learned that the details of its upcoming mobile entry, which will launch for free on iOS and Android mobile late in November. Animal Crossing Pocket Camp plays out like previous console entries with a few tweaks. Rather than managing a town, Pocket Camp tasks players with managing a personalized campsite. If you gather materials around your world like cotton or wood, you can craft furniture for your campsite and by placing an order, but you can also make the process easier by earning or buying with real-world cash. Leaf tickets, which can be used to shorten the crafting time and more easily acquire materials, among other benefits. For the first time in Animal Crossing history, you can level up your friendship with Pocket Camp's various furry friends. And if you decorate your campsite with your favorite furniture, they'll pay you a visit. Players can also invite friends to visit by exchanging in-game player IDs or be visited by random player avatars who can be befriended. Like past games, time passes in day and night cycles, and there are multiple places to visit, such as Sunburst Island and Saltwater Shores. There's also a marketplace where familiar Animal Crossing faces hold stores that sell furniture items, clothing, and shoes. Now, everybody's like, where did these microtransactions come from? It is the mobile market that is killing video games. Okay? I know that's how a lot of people make their money and all that good stuff and yada, yada, yada. But for the love of everything that is good and right, stop microtransactions. Charge what you want for the game. And I know Colin Mori already talked about this. Charge what you think the game is worth. You look at Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice. They charge like $30 or $40 for the game, and it is amazing. Everything is there, and it is amazing. The graphics are amazing. The story is amazing. Just everything about the world is great, and they charge what they thought for it, and that's why the game is selling gangbusters. It is doing so well. And then you got games like Destiny. You got Overwatch does it as well, but they don't do it as bad. You got Destiny. You got Shadow of War, which I've been playing, and I'll talk about here in a little bit. You got all these games that have microtransactions that make people not want to play it. And yes, the games haven't suffered because they've done microtransactions and everything, but it's turning people off. I want to be able to play the game. I don't want to be able to just buy my way out of it. I paid my money for it to play the game. I wouldn't pay $20 more right now for me to jump to the last level of Super Mario Odyssey and finish it. I wouldn't do that because it makes no sense to me after I've already bought the game for $60. I might be the only one here that thinks this way, but it's ridiculous at this point that this is what we're at this point. So, and a lot of people are like, oh, single player games are dying and everything. It's because people don't put their money where their mouth is. You look at Wolfenstein. Wolfenstein doesn't have a season pass. Or it might have a season pass, but it doesn't have microtransactions. It is just a full game. It's there. It's all there. They're not like, if you want to kill this Nazi, pay $1 and we'll blow his head off. It's none of that. It's just there. The game is there. Oh. You know what's not there, though? Microsoft has stopped making the Kinect. I didn't pull this article up. The Kinect accessory has already been a punchline, but is now officially dead. Creator Alex Kipman has told CO Design in an interview that Microsoft is not making more of the device when retailers sell off any remaining stock. The device, introduced in 2010, lived through both the Xbox 360 and Xbox One eras, but never caught on with developers nor gamers, despite the fact that an updated version of the sensor initially came with the Xbox One. Perhaps the Kinect's most significant contribution was the utilization and non-gaming fields. Appropriately, versions of tech are found in Microsoft's HoloLenses, and the core concepts of voice, face, and body recognition continue to be important. I have the Kinect and everything. I never really used it. I thought the first one, I was like, oh, I got to get this thing. And then I got it. And then it was what it was. So it's not that big of a deal that it's done and gone. But it does say a lot about Microsoft cutting its losses at this point, that they are not going to be putting any more out. They're not going to be using any of their money to make Kinect. And you see that with the closure of, when they stopped making Scalebound. They've closed a lot of studios recently because they're not making money. They're not making anything that people want. So it's just interesting that Microsoft is cutting its losses, and Phil Spencer is doing an awesome job riding the ship. No one else is doing a good job. Changes are coming to Destiny 2's in-game and why they matter. Even as Bungie and Vicarious Visions had a big week with the PC launch of Destiny 2, the live team for the game is beginning to share some of its plans on how the game is aiming to improve and evolve across all its platforms. Yesterday, This Week in Bungie, the article included a section from game director Christopher Barrett, in which highlights several notable features that Destiny 2's live team is working on. In most cases, we don't get a sense of how soon any of these updates may go in, but we do get an idea where the live team is. Barrett says, new systems and rewards to give our most engaged players additional optional pursuits. Why it matters, we don't get a lot of detail here, but it's notable that Barrett leads with this subject, as it's certainly the most central concern for many dedicated Destiny 2 players. Many players I know have simply run out of engaging rewards to chase. Even if those players are willing to repeatedly play the same content, they hope for some kind of reward they will get to give them a reason to log on, and right now that's not happening. Barrett goes on to say, Barrett incentivizes for better incentives for players who complete challenge prestige activities. Prestige activities attempt to provide particular challenging content for higher level players, but the rewards simply don't justify the extra work for many of the players. So they're hoping to give better loot for people. Barrett goes on to say, better rewards and replay value for strikes, adventures, and lost sectors. Again, it's all the in-game has to be better, add more rewards and everything. Barrett says, private matches for competitive community, we're targeting early 2018. And this is a big thing. The original Destiny is eventually included private matches, which was a boon to the burgeoning competitive and streaming communities. It was surprising that Destiny 2 launched without the availability of private matches, as it felt like a step backwards. Hopefully, private matches give players some flexibility they are hoping for in the Crucible. This is the only note which Barrett attaches a date, implying the degree of confidence that the functionality is on track for the launch time. Crucible tuning, like adjusting supremacy scoring and better spawning results, better incentives for completing Crucible matches, and penalties for quitting competitive games, continued improvements to Iron Banner and faction rallies, including uniqueness of rewards. They've already improved the Iron Banner. They talked about that recently. Changes to make mod economy more interesting and impactful, ongoing improvement to exotics, including adjustments to reduce instances of duplication, new ways to spend surplus currency and materials, looking at legendary shards, an emote interface that allows players to equip salty, spicy ramen, 6-shooter, and flip out all at the same times. And that is all that he talked about. Now, with better rewards, you're going to get more people that are engaged with the end game. You're going to get more people that want to keep playing, that want to keep coming back. And that is a huge thing that is needed at this point for Destiny 2. I know I haven't even turned on Destiny 2 this week, but I've been pretty busy. But I know there's a lot more hardcore people out there than I am for Destiny. So having people that already have all the exotics, already have all the mods, all this kind of stuff, all the armor that they want, you got to have something that's going to make people want to come back and keep playing. So I'm glad to hear that they're going to be doing more and more. Hopefully they'll let you choose what kind of matches that you want to play in Crucible. I know the Crucible playlist right now is just kind of there. So I want to see more from that. So that does it for the gaming news of the week. I'm going to go give a little hot take on what I think about Super Mario Odyssey and Shadow of War. Those are the two games that I played. I'm waiting for my copies of Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, and Assassin's Creed Origins to come in. I know Allie's been playing Assassin's Creed Origin like nonstop. I haven't had the time to talk to her, but I've seen some gameplay and everything. So Shadow of War. I did a live stream of Shadow of War, and here are my thoughts on it. The gameplay is pretty simple. Feels a lot like Batman Arkham Origins and City and Asylum and all of that good stuff. And Night, which is good. I love the gameplay of that. There seems to be pretty good depth to it. But it is definitely mired in the fact that there are purchases that you need to make to get more powerful, from buying orcs and all of that. Haven't got a ton into the game yet, but it seems like there's not a lot to the story, and it seems like I'm just going from one place to another, killing orcs or enslaving them. And I wanted more from the game, and I know a lot of people, I had one guy even call me out and asked me if I was getting paid to play the game because of the microtransactions, that I was trying to sell people on the game, which totally not. I wish I was getting paid to play video games, which I guess Patreon pays me at some point or whatever, but it was interesting to get called out on that when I'm just playing the game. Like, I didn't even buy the game. That was how far I went. Like, I did not want to put money down on Shadow of War, so I gameflied it, and it's an okay game. Like, it is what you want, and it's definitely got a lot of stuff that if you want to play, you can go in and you can find a lot of stuff. There's a lot of churn and grinding in the game, which it is what it is. I'm going to keep playing it and see if my opinion changes anymore. The gameplay is fun, though. I won't lie about that. The gameplay is fun, from, just going around and killing and all of that kind of stuff. Now, Super Mario Odyssey, I got it. I've only played probably about 15 minutes, but I did want to kind of give my opinions on it. Game looks great. Love the music, love the controls and everything. The only thing I don't like about the game is that you have to play with the Joy-Cons not attached to the handheld, because they have motion controls to them, the waggle and all of that. I don't like that. Like, I want to be able to hold it in handheld mode and do all of the things that I need to do. And you can, but it just feels very janky, and like you're having to like move the gamepad around to like activate certain moves and everything. But when you're, with the Joy-Cons at free hand or whatever you want to call it, it works pretty well. I haven't got too far into it, but the game does look great. I want to get more and more into it. Like I said, I only played a few minutes. That's my biggest concern, is that I have to play with the controllers free of the device and everything. I'm curious to see what it does with a Pro Controller, if it works like that. But I haven't got too far into it. A lot of people are praising it. You see a lot of like 9.7s and 10s and everything, and 9.5s. So I'm going to get more and more involved in it the more I play. But I want to kind of give it an update. I'm curious to see what everybody picked up. We had Assassin's Creed, we had Wolfenstein 2, we had Mario this past week. So let me know what you're playing currently in the comments below. So that is all the gaming news for the week. We're going to jump into the movie and TV news. So here we go. Stan Lee's MCU cameos are getting their own Funko Pops. You know that Funko Pops rule the world at this point. If you're collecting, you probably have a Funko Pop somewhere. I remember my first Funko Pop, and I don't even know what it is because I don't collect them, but I know a lot of people do. It was a Lando Calrissian Funko Pop, because Lando Calrissian is awesome. So that was back in like 2009, something like that. when I got that one. Funko has announced that they're releasing a new line of pop vinyl figures celebrating the many MCU cameos of the legendary Stan Lee. Fan favorites collectibles pop vinyls have become absolutely huge in the geek community, with fans collecting dozens of the cute little figurines. Funko continues to release collections. Funko's has even moved on to pop culture characters and into the world of real life figures. James Gunn, director of the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise, has his own pop vinyl figure and is not the only one. New to the toy company has announced they will be releasing a series of Stan Lee figures celebrating some of the cameos and Marvel films. Funko made an announcement on their blog along with the images of 3 pop vinyls that will be made available in stores next month. These will be Walmart exclusive run, and 3 shown of And the 3 shown are Stan Lee's cameos as a military captain in Captain America, the First Avenger, a security guard in Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and as Xandarian in Guardians of the Galaxy. Let's see if they got the Funko Pops in here. If it will scroll down. Okay. Apparently not. So, let me know what you think about the Funko Pops. I think it's kind of funny that Stan Lee is getting his own, but hey, he is the man, the myth, the legend, Stan Lee. So who else deserves it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think Stan Lee deserves his own Funko Pops. Now this was interesting. Something that Derek Daniels sent me for this week. Samuel L. Jackson is teaching an online acting class. Samuel L. Jackson is going to teach an online acting class in collaboration with Masterclass. Over the past quarter century, Jackson has gone from obscure character actor to the highest grossing movie star of all time, including every film he's ever appeared in. Jackson, who has appeared in multiple Star Wars and MCU films, as well as multiple films directed by Quentin Tarantino and Spike Lee, is the only actor in history whose movies have earned a cumulative total exceeding $5 billion. He and Harrison Ford have spent the last couple of years trading the top spot on that list. He's 68 years old? Oh, wow. I would not have thought that. The 68-year-old Jackson has also branched out into movie acting, narrating acclaimed Oscar-nominated documentary, that one, and appearing in commercials for Apple and Capital One. He even voiced the book on tape version of the satirical children's book Go the F to Sleep. Now Jackson is planning to give back by teaching his craft to others. The likes of Kevin Spacey, Martin Scorsese, Dustin Hoffman, Shonda Rhimes have taught such classes throughout the master class. Also, Hans Zimmer does one for composition. I want to say Dead Mouse, whatever his name, Dedimus, whatever. It does one as well. What is it? Steve Martin does a comedy one. So it's pretty interesting that he is going to be doing one. Sorry if any kind of sound popped up right there. Now, the next story is pretty interesting because we thought that we weren't going to be getting this one. Okay? And I'm curious to see how long this lasts, if it does go through and everything. The Deathstroke movie starring Joe Manganiello, I am bad at pronouncing, everybody, reportedly is in the works from the Raid director Gareth Evans. Last year, Ben Affleck shared a cryptic tweet featuring Joe suited up as Deathstroke, and it took no time at all for us to learn that the character was set to take center stage in The Batman. Since then, big changes have been made, and Affleck has been replaced as a movie director by Matt Reeves. He's ditched Affleck's and John's script to work on a new one, unlikely, and to include Slade Wilson. Despite all of that drama, we have some good news for both Joe and fans of the anti-hero, as it had been revealed today that the Raid helmer Gareth Evans is in talks to write and direct a Deathstroke movie, which will star the Magic Mike actor. Evans passed on directing Justice League Dark, but his Deathstroke pitch actually impressed DC Entertainment executives enough to get its own green light. Both Raid and its sequel feature jaw-dropping fight scenes, which will fit in with this movie like this. How it will fit into the wider DC film universe remains to be seen, especially as the studio is now developing standalone features too. Regardless, it's good to hear that the character is getting his due, and that Joe will be given the opportunity to play the character he was cast for all those months ago. So, it's interesting to see that this is happening. I'm not actually shocked that it is happening. But it's a good thing because I think he would do well as that. And Deathstroke is very popular because of the wonderful Arrow show. I wish they would have cast Mono Bennett. I can wish all day long, but it's not going to happen. But this makes me happy because we're going to get this movie. And if you don't know the whole story about the DC universe and everything, Justice League is pretty much going to exist in its own thing, and they're going to start doing standalone movies the whole time. So I'm curious to see how this all works. DC is doing some interesting stuff for sure, but we'll all see what happens there. Next article, Daredevil Kingpin is back for season 3. New showrunner has been named. The upcoming third season of Daredevil will have a familiar villain returning to Hell's Kitchen. Deadline reports Vincent D'Onofrio will reprise his role as Wilson Fisk / Kingpin. To cause more trouble for Matt Murdock, Charlie Cox, it is not yet known how the heavily Kingpin will be featured in season 3. Hopefully a lot. He was wonderful in season 1. Kingpin served as the main antagonist on the first season of the show and also showed up in season 2, interacting with Frank Castle, John Berthnall while in prison. Season 3 will also have a showrunner in Eric Olson, who served as the executive producer on The Man in the High Castle. Olson will take over Douglas Petrie and Marco Ramirez, who were showrunners for season 2 and eventually moved on to work on The Defenders. So I'm excited for this. Kingpin, great character. Man in the High Castle, I've heard nothing but good things about that show, so I'm looking forward to it. One thing that people aren't looking forward to, and I'm not either, IMAX says that Inhuman screenings were a mistake. The CEO of IMAX admits that screening Inhumans in theaters was a poorly executed move. The prospect of Inhumans was tricky even when it was planned to be overseen by Kevin Feige as a movie starring Vin Diesel. The characters have a great deal of backstory and even in the comics don't have a sizable audience. Without a comedic hook like Guardians, there was no telling how well the Inhumans film would have done. Still, it would have had the signature Marvel touch and likely a strong director and cast attached. That all changed when Inhumans was transformed into a TV show. After ABC landed the series, Inhumans gained a co-producer in IMAX, which decided to play the first 2 episodes of the show in their theaters. The initiative sounded like an interesting pairing and large format innovators with Marvel name. Sadly, the final result was a lackluster affair that failed to drive much business towards IMAX screens. Now the head of the company has spoken out about the decision and what he thinks. Deadline talked to IMAX CEO Rich Gelfond and about what went wrong with Inhumans, offering the first concrete explanation of the show's failure from someone inside the series. While Gelfond didn't discuss the merits of Inhuman as a TV show, he did admit that the failure to match audience expectation led to the unsuccessful screenings. Customers expected a production akin to the mega-budget blockbuster movies rather than the pilots for a television show. Moreover, the fact that this was a Marvel IP set the bar at a level you wouldn't see from any other piece of content or IP because of the reputation, the high production value of Marvel movies. So what we're dealing with right here is high expectations. They rushed Inhumans. They poorly budgeted Inhumans. They didn't put the right staffing with it. And Inhumans should be one of those things that everybody looks at and learns from. You look at the Star Wars Christmas special. People should have learned from that. You look at the first episode of the Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, people learn from these things, but apparently history is repeating itself and on a much, much bigger scale here. I hate that this has happened, but it also shows that Marvel can strike out at times and that they should have picked something that has a bigger base for people, that has more people that want to watch it. And Disney even saved Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. from being canceled by ABC. So it says a lot about what Marvel is willing to do to keep their shows going. But at the same time, they're not willing to put in money when they've got tons of money. We all know this. They got tons of money to save the show or make it better. So it's kind of a sad thing, in my opinion, that they wouldn't put the money forth for all of that. So There's all the news for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do want one of these awesome t-shirts, I got a new Nerd Cave t-shirt. All you have to do is go over to Teespring. It is teespring.com/stores/nerdcave and get one of these awesome shirts. Any shirt bought also helps the Nerd Cave. We get a portion of those proceeds and everything, and it gets shipped straight to you as soon as it's done. So definitely, go support us, get these awesome t-shirts and all of that good stuff. And if you want all of this wonderful podcast and all of our other content early, all you got to do is go to patreon.com/nerdcave. Toss us a few dollars. You can get Let's Plays a week early before anybody else sees them in the world. You can also get the podcast early. We stream each and every week to our patron saints. So you can get this before it's all edited and pretty and everything. But we do have a pre-show that we just kind of discuss with everybody. So you can definitely check that out. And if you want, you can support us at higher levels. You can get the audio version before 4 days before everybody else. You can get the video version with all the lower thirds and all the nice graphics and all that good stuff. All you got to do is go support us. You can be a Patreon producer and all that good stuff. So, and shout out to all the people that supported us, and thank you everybody for coming out to the community game night that we had. We'll be looking at a new one for this month. So it's going to be a very, very fun month. A lot of great games coming out. So there's going to be a lot of good game coverage and Let's Plays over on Nerd Cave Gaming. So check that out. And thank you all for joining us for 230 of these. Who would have imagined a few years ago that we'd be making this each and every week and get up to 230 of these? Because it's definitely a lot of podcast, a lot of film. A lot of stuff. So thank you all for supporting us, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, make sure that you subscribe to all the places. We've got Twitch, we've got YouTube, we've got Facebook, we got a Facebook group, we got a Facebook page. We got it all. And if you're a video watcher, go over to iTunes, subscribe there, download there, rate us there. If you're just on iTunes, then go to YouTube, subscribe to us there. Do all of that, because all of it helps. The more people will see and you share and everything, the better it is for us, because we get more people watching and the community grows. And that's the one thing that I really love about the Nerd Cave is the community that we have. We have a lot of awesome people, and it just makes it worth it because of everybody that's involved with it. So thanks everybody for watching the live stream. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you're listening on the recording and everything, this has been Zach, and have a week.